This hour, Supreme Court resumes hearing on suits challenging the constitutionality of the anti-LGBTQ plus bill passed by Parliament and awaiting presidential assent. We have the latest details for you if you stay with us.
Also to come is Judgment Day for 4 MPs as the Speaker of Parliament is set to deliver his ruling on whether they should continue to hold on to their seats after filing to contest as independent candidates.
A lot later,
and in that meeting,
the staff of the Volta River Authority pushed back attempts by Parliament to consider proposed bills aimed at merging the VRA with the Bui Authority. We have the details for you. Hello there, welcome to another edition of NewsCentral. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni. I'm another news stars right now. Now, the Supreme Court has ordered lawyers of the Speaker of Parliament and Attorney General to file documents they will rely on in defense of the suit filed by lawyer and broadcast journalist Richard Delasky within 7 days. The court, seated with only one justice in attendance, is hearing applications in the Richard Delasky suit, which, among many things, wants the court to strike out the passed bill as unconstitutional, having failed to undergo a financial assessment test by the Attorney General. There's growing pressure on the judiciary and the Chief Justice by proponents of the bill following a demonstration last week demanding expedited hearing of the suits. Soon we'll bring you more on that, hearing today. But before then, I want to take you through what has been happening with the suit so far. Let's take a look at that now on the screen. We know that there have been multiple suits. We know that Dr. Amanda Odoi versus Speaker in the Attorney General suit. Then there's also the Richard Delasky versus Attorney General suit. And then we also know that this began sometime back in July 2024 when the Supreme Court ruled an injunction application, which decided to, when the Supreme Court ruled on the injunction application, deciding to order an early trial instead of dismissing or granting the injunction. And then in October 2024, this month that is, we know that the proponents of the bill staged a demonstration demanding expedited hearing, accusing the judiciary of the delays. You remember that demonstration led by the Ningo Prampram MP, Sam George. And today we know that the Judicial Service has also denied claims that the AG has not filed defense in both cases. Neither have the three parties filed memoranda of issues. Now let's get more details. Lord Eduasare is here with us. He was in court earlier for the latest hearing. He'll bring us a bit more on that. Lord, talk to us. What happened in court today?
Well, basically, Kemini, we're expecting all the parties, i.e. the lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament, the plaintiff Richard Delasky, as well as the Attorney General. But like you indicated, we had only one justice on the case. And then all the parties, the main parties were absent, were just represented by their lawyers. Richard Delasky also has someone else representing him.
Right.
Now, when the case was called, the lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament conceded to the courts or to the presiding justice that he hasn't been able to file the documents that are required. He said it was inadvertent. It wasn't that it was to disrespect the courts, but it was merely an oversight. And so he was pleading for additional time to be able to, file this application. At this point, both the lawyers for Richard Delasky and the Attorney General did not oppose to this application. He indicated especially the lawyer for Richard Delasca, he put on record that contrary to the notion out there that all the lawyers were responsible for the delays, for which reason the anti-LGBT case has not been called, they had done their part, and so he wanted that on record in court. Now, the Attorney General also indicated, the lawyer represented the Attorney General indicated that it's not a case that they hadn't filed, but the whole thing, it's more like a ripple effect. You have to apply, you need to attach this document, and then the other parties can also file. And because the Speaker of Parliament hadn't filed this document, the AG's office has also not filed that document. And so, essentially, after hearing the case or the arguments from the lawyers, the presiding justice, Yao Dakwansari, ordered this document to be filed within 7 days. We can actually listen to the lawyer for Richard Delasca, Pakwesi Abedu, explaining exactly why this came to be.
I sought the leave of the court to discard the notion that the plaintiffs indeed are the ones orchestrating a delay of the hearing of this matter. My reason for doing so was very, very clear. At the ordinary sitting of the Supreme Court on the 17th of July, 2014, my contention was upheld by the Supreme Court that until the defendants filed their statement of case, we, the plaintiffs, will not be in the position to distill issues for the filing of memorandum of issues. You will agree with me that this morning's application by the first defendant was to the effect that they have not filed. They require some extension of time to file, meaning that the delay is not orchestrated by us. So I don't know why anybody should put that impression out there that we are the cause of the delay of the hearing of this matter.
I see counsel for Richard Delasca there. But Lord, where does this leave us as far as, you know, the lifespan of this case is concerned? What's going on? Where does it leave us, really?
Well, so like Pakwesi Abedu, ESQ, indicated, from the look of things, until the various documents are filed, everything remains at a standstill. At the last time the case was called, I recalled somewhere in July, lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament, Thaddeus Ori, indicated to the court that he had just been informed that that document had been filed. Now, the AG has also not filed their document because they are noting that the impact analysis, the fiscal impact analysis, has not been attached to it, for which reason we are where we are right now. And so once the Speaker of Parliament's lawyer files this statement of case, then we can go ahead. We should
be able to move on from there. So when are they to return to court?
So as it stands, we are back at it being adjourned indefinitely, but then they are to file their documents within 7 days. Once they file it, then they can go to court and say that we have our documents, so we can move ahead with the case.
I see. Also worthy of note is the fact that there was only one justice in attendance. Was there any explanation for that?
Well, normally, because they knew that this was what was going to happen, they're just going to file their statement of case or ask for more time to file this case. It didn't constitute the entire 7-member panel to hear the case.
Which makes sense, right? And so we are still on that indefinite, you know, adjournment, hoping that whatever filings need to be done will be done soon. Thank you so much for bringing us that story. Lord Edu Asare is our court correspondent. He's been sitting through that Richard Delasca suit against the unconstitutionality of the anti-gay bill. But there's more news here.
And a bit more stories for you this afternoon. Concerned staff of the Volta River Authority are raising objections to energy bills currently before Parliament that proposes the merging of the Volta River Authority with the Bui Power Authority into a single power generation entity. The national chairman of the VRA Senior Staff Association, Theophilus Tetahia, claims that the merger could result in the transfer of key hydro assets to a private entity. He warns that this would lead to higher power costs, ultimately disadvantaging Ghanaians. He's been speaking to journalists in Parliament.
Premises. And in that meeting, he agreed that he is coming to withdraw the bills, because the points that we have adduced in our petitions are so cogent that he realized that they have to withdraw those bills. As we speak, we have been in the Parliament House for 2 consecutive days, and nothing of that sort has been brought to the floor of Parliament that they are withdrawing that bill. That tells us that, well, we don't know whether we can say that we do not trust the minister, but we hope that he will do the needful to withdraw those bills, because they are not to serve the purpose and also to save Ghanaians from the current situation in which we are. Look, ECG's bill is billed by the IPPs in dollars. ECG sell the power to Ghanaians in cedis. So ECG's problem currently, as you are aware, the paper PURC wrote to the government on ECG almost nearing bankruptcy, is because we are having a lot of foreign exchange losses. And that is what is impacting. The problem is how do we resolve this problem? And it is not about selling VRA assets. If we finish selling, what we mean is that 75% of our energy demand in this country will be in the hands of private people. And what will be the result? Whenever they get up that we are fed up, you are owing us, they will shut down just like Azogre has done. And we are saying that the good people of this country must listen to us. They should support us to resist this measure, which is intended to sell the asset of VRA. Let me also say that the Water River Authority is so efficient, it's well managed. It is 63 years old. VRA is one of the best hydro generating plants in the world. Out of 350 hydro generation plants in the world, VRA is ranked 3rd. And that tells you the professionalism that we've used to manage. So what is the reason that they want? Secondly, Bui is also doing very well. Records at SIGA shows that for the past 3 years, Bui is making profit. They are even breaking new frontiers. They are building more renewable plants. We are saying that allow Bui also to develop in that line, so that they bring the needed competition into the industry.
Let's connect with my colleague Noble Crosby Annan, who was there when that petition was brought to Parliament. Crosby, many thanks for joining us. Talk to us again about these consents. It's not the first time we're hearing about it, but they found the need to be in Parliament and petition the legislature that this merger does not happen.
Exactly, Marina. So you know that for the past couple of weeks or months, this conversation has been ongoing, and the staff of the various companies involved in this merger have individually raised serious concerns or objected to this merger. The Electricity Company of Ghana, for instance, they are complaining bitterly about it. The Water Authority, the Bui Power Authority, staff of these companies are not happy about the merger. They are given the same reasons, that it does not spell good for the country. It is some form of state capture and will not inure to the benefit of Ghanaians. Today, the Senior Staff Association of the VRA, they came to Parliament because during the sitting of Parliament, it is expected to consider these bills and eventually either pass or not these bills. So they came to, again, highlight the need for Parliament to ensure that this bill does not go through. You know that the minority have already raised concerns about what this bill contains, and they think that just creating excess bureaucracy and is some levels of state capture that the government is trying to perpetrate by merging these companies together. And they're also saying the same thing, that at the end of the day, the ordinary Ghanaian will suffer the consequences of this action if government does not stop it.
Right, and just quickly, what's been the response of Parliament to these concerns, the individual who received the petition on behalf of the legislature?
Right, Harry, so you know that since it is in Parliament, if it is opened up for debate like you will, both sides of the House, they will debate fiercely and a decision will have to be taken. So already we know the position of the minority, that this is something they do not like. They want changes to be made. So during the debate of the bill in the House, a lot of these changes or these amendments will be made, or it will eventually be thrown out of Parliament, just like the minority saying it's not good, and the staff of these state agencies that are involved in the center of all of this have also been trying to communicate.
Right then, Crosby, you hold on for us. We'll have conversations with you in relation to other subject matters. But still on the Volta River Authority and the staff at Abuazi in the Western region, they've taken to the streets still in relation to this particular matter. Let's listen to one of the senior managers speak at this particular protest against the merger of VRA and Bui Power Authority, and then we can subject it to a bit more scrutiny.
The energy bills that were being smuggled or that have been smuggled into Parliament, which some time back before, on the very final day that Parliament was rising, we talked about, and then we thought that it was off. But we heard yesterday that it's still being pushed again by some of the hands. So that's why we are escalating our actions today all over the country in our installations. We are escalating our actions, and in fact, we will not stop here until these bills are withdrawn completely, because that's what the minister, when he met us, said that he will do.
That's the senior staff manager at Gridco, not Gridco, the Volta River Authority in the Western region, Abuazi to be specific. I mentioned we're going to subject this to a bit more scrutiny. Let's speak to energy analyst Dr. Yusuf Suleiman on what he thinks about this move. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. Not the first time this subject matter is coming up strongly, but it does appear that the staff are raising red flags and the potential dangers that this merger could lead to increased cost of electricity for the average Ghanaian. From where you sit, are these concerns legitimate and their continuous resistance to the merger?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you and your cherished viewers and listeners in Ghana and across the globe. It's always good to speak to you, Monya. Yeah. Indeed, I think this is disturbing. I mean, ever since this started unraveling, and it's also becoming fast unpopular, the whole idea of this merger. Yes, and acquisitions are not things that are not good in many companies. In fact, there are strategic moves that companies do embark, to be able to increase efficiency and other things. However, if a merger is surrounded with a lot of uncertainties, it's a merger surrounded with a lot of discrepancies and a lot of upheavals like we have now, I think we need to step back and look at it. And what's the issue here? VRA as a company and Bui Power as a company, if I look at them over the years and as they operate independently, I think they are doing they are doing very good in terms of their independent operation. So one then asks, why do you merge two companies who are not doing too bad? I mean, they are doing very well. So that's number one. Number two, I think if it was just a merger that will not segregate any entity. If you look at the concern about the workers, it is not in a vacuum. I mean, they are, especially that of VRA, is typically they are fighting for their thermal plants. Because this merger is not just a solo merger, it's a merger and segregation, or segregation and merger. The plan is to take out the thermal plants from VRA operatorship, and that's why they are not taken lightly. And will you blame them for that? I would say no, because if you look at over the years, the thermal power plants within VRA, it has been their cash. In fact, that's what they drive their, export money from. And the money they drive from thermal plants as a result of power export is supporting efficiency in operating VRA optimally. So if assuming we take out this amount of money and there is no any credible substitute, then that becomes a problem. So I think their concerns are highly legitimate. What I think we need to do is to have further deliberation on this and to bring the workers on board. If at the end of the day we still think that it's the best thing to do, why don't we explain to the various companies or the various workers concerned, I mean the various individual institutions concerned, that this is not going to affect your job, that this is going to improve efficiency, that this is going to add value to the company's efficiency in operation. We are not seeing anything like that. And so if you don't see anything like that, then you are left with one choice, then to think that the workers, or to agree that the workers complaint is legitimate. And so if today they are saying that they're not going to take later the thermal plants from VRA operatorship, this whole Fulabalo is going to die down. So if the government still think that is something they want to pursue, I think a far better, more communication, far better, more engagement is required with the affected parties and some assurances given, so that we'll put this to, to rest. Other than that, this frequent upheavals from the worker side, I think it's not the best for the energy sector. And I can tell you, VRA, if their staff of this needed capital without any credible replacement, it's going to impact their operations. So I think their call is legitimate, and the government has to listen to that.
And so government should be looking at a more consultative approach in relation to this, because ever since the concerns began to come through, we've not heard anything from the side of government as to what really the plans are and whether or not these concerns, as has been raised by the staff, which has resulted in quite a number of protests. There's not been any consultative meetings. You're advising that should be the way forward?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I mentioned. I don't see why, if concerns are raised and they are put in a vacuum, they become the reality. And that's what is happening. Even if they don't hold substance, and I'm not saying VRA concern is not holding substance, I think they have some points to prove in a way. Because like I mentioned, this is their cash cow. And so if they are it's taken from their operatorship, it's going to impact them. So government, the seemingly quietness from the part of government, or the policymakers of the day with respect to this issue, why they are not coming out to explain the reasons for this move, and also the reason for segregating the thermal plants from VRA custodianship, then that becomes a thorny issue. And we are not seeing that from government till now. And we are laying it in Parliament, and there's still this brewing, this thing still being inflamed. I think that's not the best. Government need to come up to explain the reason for that such a move.
Right then. Dr. Suleimana, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon. That's Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. He's an energy analyst speaking to us this afternoon in relation to the happenings in Parliament. I mentioned that we will return to my colleague Noble Crosby-Annan, who's still in Parliament for us this afternoon. And that's quite significant because it's decision day in Parliament today, where the Speaker is, amongst many things, expected to decide if 4 members of Parliament could lose their positions by virtue of their decision to seek re-election on different tickets other than that which brought them into the 8th Parliament. The Speaker, as we know, on Tuesday, after intense debate, deferred the ruling on the controversial matter, which has the potential to change the majority-minority dynamics between the 2 major parties in the legislature. And which seats, as a big question, the seats which are up for that particular determination a lot later today, they are going to come up on your screens right now. The second Deputy Speaker, Andrew Esiama Mwako, the former MP, his seat as well is coming up for strong contention, and a possible declaration today that that seat will be vacant. And then there's the MP for Memphis Central, Peter Yao Kwache Aka. I mean, the backstory in relation to Memphis Central, in relation to the NDC, is something that has caught attention over the last 24 hours following that Electoral Commission's decision. And then we know as well of 2 other seats. That's the MP for Suhum, Kwejo Asante, who's deciding to go independent, and then Cynthia Mamle Morrison, who's the MP for Agona West, from switching or leaving the camp of the NPP to contest as an independent candidate. That and the other 3 are the seats which the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, is expected to provide determination on based on his ruling. Crosby is joining us this afternoon, but we understand the Speaker is at another engagement this hour. Let's try and get an understanding where the Speaker is, even as the preparations are made for this particular ruling. Crosby, talk to us as to where the Speaker is at this point in time and what he's been saying.
Right, Eric. So the Speaker of Parliament was expected to be here at the Kempinski Hotel, and this was a stakeholders engagement on the Natural Resources Bill and International Agreements Bill. But that has not happened. The Speaker has been represented in a statement read on his behalf. I should tell you a little bit about this bill. It is a bill that is seeking to, if you like, regulate all other agreements the nation enters into with some other partners, not necessarily loan agreements. So we're talking about some agreements Ghana could go into other countries with that may not be loan-based. So these are non-loan agreements that if Ghana defaults or if something happens, it incurs a lot of judgment debts to the nation. So it happens because Parliament does not these agreements do not go through Parliament because they are non-bill based. Hence, the need for this bill to ensure that Parliament will oversee some of these actions, to deliberate on them and eventually advise the nation on which way to go, to either go ahead with this agreement or not, so that it reduces the cost that these agreements get for the country, because they do not go through Parliament for approval. This is where the Speaker was expected to be. Already the Majority Leader, Legend of Finger Marking, has been here, and he is saying that he's hopeful that this bill would go through all the various stages as early as possible, so that it is passed and it will contribute to helping Ghana save some monies from these agreements that eventually come at a cost to the nation. So we're talking about agreements that involve huge projects, for instance, power purchase agreements, and some of these things that may not necessarily be loan-based. This is what has been happening here at the Kempinski Hotel. Some other stakeholders, lawyers and members of Parliament for Isikado Ketan constituency, Joe Gate is here, as well as some other MPs who are involved in this deliberations have all gathered here for the Speaker and for other members, the lawyers, people from economy, as well as other members of academia. SKB Asante, for instance, is here. He has been a major factor in fine-tuning this agreement that is now before Parliament at a stage of consideration, Eric.
Or to that, and then look forward a lot more to the matters on the floor of the House, which is of utmost interest to a lot of people who are watching. And we're going for our very first break. When we return, a lot of matters in relation to elections and its management. The Deputy EC Chair, Bosman Asare, has been speaking, even as the coalition of domestic election observers say it would deploy some 4,000 polling station observers for the December 7 elections. This is News Central. Please do stay with us.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
We all have that one friend, always by your side for the big moments and ready to assist. He's always got his eyes on the prize and his heart in the right place. Where would we be without our BFF? This season, enjoy all 380 Premier League games with your BFF GoTV. Upgrade or reconnect to GoTV Super Plus for the discounted price of just 265 cedis today. GoTV, love it.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problem suwum ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me mogya mu no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra me enu foforo kwa na me kwan mu a eba head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you. Hello. Hey, ohwehwe what che. Okay. A free bra wo di end point wa dance. Me call you no. Me Johnson sema na enkoyie person na my nyina na magina sabema na me be fear for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
Fellow countrymen and women, the desperate NPP, realizing that they are losing the 2024 elections, has once again resorted to lies to smear the nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The NPP's claim that Mahama was against free SHS and will cancel it when elected is nothing but a barefaced lie calculated to deceive you.
John Mahama started the implementation of the progressively free SHS program in 2015 with day students and had a clear plan to expand the program to cover borders, hence cannot be said to be against free SHS. What he has been against is the poor implementation of the program. Contrary to the lies of the NPP, the next NDC Mahama government will improve the implementation of the free SHS program to make it better. We will do this by scrapping the double-track system, provide a dedicated source of funding for the program, include private SHS, improve the feeding of our children, and enhance the quality of learning outcomes. Listen to the truth from the horse's own mouth.
Free senior high school education has come to stay. If anybody tells you that I, John Dramani Mahama, son of E.A. Mahama, will abolish free SHS when I come, tell the person he's a bloody liar. What I'm against is the poor implementation of the free SHS, which is creating great inconvenience for the parents, for the students, and for the teachers. And one of the things we'll do when we come back into office, and I know inshallah we're coming back into office, is to complete the 200 community day schools that we began, so that we can bring a quick end to the double-track system.
Beware of the NPP's lies. Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Luckiest. Star 712 hash. Luck is everywhere.
8K. Hey, you get an 8K. Get a packing so you have to one lie. Hey, wait.
You go put it on his tab. This is my man.
Good luck. Hey, go bill radio. We have star 712. It's much more. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. And now with me at ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved one.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Or who else?
Let's
choose buy tickets for others.
Love you, boo boo.
Maybe straight to option 4. Now you need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets. I'm choosing random tickets. That's it. Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5.
Baby, give me your 5 numbers.
And how much are we buying?
Babe, look at the body and buy you.
With your body,
Hey,
never. Tread cautiously. Now follow the prompts and confirm. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. T&Cs apply.
The news never stops. If it's not breaking, developing, the news lends itself to significant analysis, broad context through explainers, and the features that give stories more life. That's what we offer on Weekend Central. News, features, analysis, the full package. Weekend Central, Saturdays and Sundays at 12 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
It's NewsCentral live on TV3. It's 50 days and 19 hours to the December polls. We are your election command center. In other news, the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers say it will deploy some 4,000 polling station observers for the December 7th polls, which is only 50 days away. This came up during the launch of CODEO's Election Day Observation and Post-Election Action Plan. We can get more on this. Christian Yale is our man on the beat, joins us with a bit more on this story. Christian, let's first talk about what the Electoral Commission, which is also represented by Deputy Chairperson Dr. Bosman Asare, has been revealing that as part of the EC's reforms, it will declare presidential election results for each region before declaring the national results. Talk to us about that.
Exactly. Just as you mentioned, Dr. Bosman Asare makes the point that the EC knows that per its track record, it has organized very successful elections in the past, and this year's own is not going to be different. Reforms like what you just mentioned are what the EC is going to implement. So what? Unlike in previous years that we have the presidential election result declared by only Jane Mensah or whoever is the EC chairperson, this time around, each of the regions, and I mean all the 16 regions, are going to declare their presidential result independently in the presence of all political parties, obviously, and it is also a means of deepening transparency. It is after all the 16 regions have declared the results that the EC at the national level would declare the election result for the presidential coverage. That is not the only reform that the EC is seeking to bring. The EC is also going to employ or engage the services of collation officers. What this means is that for each polling station or for all constituency collation centers, the EC is going to have an independent collation officer who is going to augment the services or the duties or the roles of the Electoral Commission's own officers who would be there. In addition to that, for each polling station, the Electoral Commission is going to dispatch 5 different EC officials who would perform different roles, ensuring that the process is credible. But beyond all of these, we understand that for the general elections, which comes off on December 7th, the Electoral Commission is going to make use of a total of some 40,647 polling centers. Aside from that, for the special voting, which takes place on December 2, the EC is going to make use of 328 polling stations.
Indeed.
These are some of the things that the Electoral Commission Deputy Chairperson in terms of corporate services, Dr. Eric Bosman Asare, has been saying. We can take a listen to some of his own words.
In 2024. And we are saying this because we have doubled down on all the measures we took in 2020. Most of the things we did in 2020, which supported us greatly, we have doubled down on them. And we are very much sure that 2024 is going to be another successful general election. In terms of registration, you'll be able to register all those who are qualified. And when you look at the data we have now, almost 18.8 million Ghanaians. And when you look at the register, the Ghana's population from the Ghana Statistical Service is about 33-point-something million. So we are doing almost 56% of our population on the voters register.
I see, Christian. We also know that members of the diplomatic community were present at this event. Talk to us about what they have been saying.
Exactly. So you have the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, for instance, mentioned that over the years, the United States of America has been supporting Ghana in the conduct of its elections. And being a partner of CODEO and CDD Ghana, for instance, the U.S. Embassy in Ghana is assuring that it will continue to do its part, because organizing elections comes with some collective action. So one of the things that the U.S. Embassy has been doing is to train people by way of observers. You know, we also have external observers. But what is actually the fact here is that these days, domestic election observers are becoming more important even than external or international observers. And you know, election observation is also one way of ensuring transparency. So we have the U.S. ambassador say that we also have the United Kingdom High Commissioner to Ghana, Harriet Thompson, who also, among other things, you know, expressed the readiness of the UK High Commission to Ghana to support in all facets of the conduct of the election. So it was a full representation of the diplomatic corps. We're here to partner and to support the CODEO agenda for this year's election. Kemini.
It's really important work that you're doing, and we applaud you. December the 7th is an opportunity for Ghanaians to celebrate the hard-won freedoms, and that celebration, that commitment needs to be renewed each generation through each election. And as individuals, those representatives, those members of CADEO have a fantastic opportunity to do their bit, working together to help safeguard Ghana's democracy, not through intervening at polling stations, but by diligently noting and reporting what happens, hopefully all of it good. Where there are concerns, where any individual or organisation has concerns, there are clearly established constitutional routes for addressing those concerns. And as my colleagues have done, I fully support their cause for every party, every actor with a role to play in this organisation to follow those constitutional routes. Similarly, I hope that all will play their part in creating an environment that is conducive to credible, transparent, inclusive and peaceful elections, all of which will make your roles as observers that much easier. And yet, if things do go wrong, your role is clear: to report on the situation accurately, without fear or favour. Although CSOs and CADEO are importantly independent of the EC, the Electoral Commission, I know that that organisation highly values, highly respects the role that you all at CADEO play. Your independent statements, the neutral observation that you provide, the parallel voter tabulation results that you release, all of those provide objective assessments of the work of the Electoral Commission. And that's why I'm so happy to be here today, to recognise your importance, and why I'm so happy that the UK government, through our Ghana Governance Programme, is funding CADEO's efforts in all parts of the country, men and women, young and old, able-bodied, disabled-bodied. Everyone in this room and across the country will share in that ambition to which you're working to deliver those credible, transparent, inclusive and peaceful elections, which are the foundation of good governance, which are the foundation of the rule of law, which is absolutely necessary for those links between our countries to flourish. But democracy, as we've heard, it's not just about elections, it's a whole process. And I'm glad that we're working with many of the organisations represented before elections, through elections, and importantly between elections.
Harriet Thompson is UK High Commissioner to Ghana. Earlier, Christian Yale joined us from that CADEO event here in Accra. We cannot bring you more from the campaign trail as we join Komla Kluche. But before then, women's participation in politics in Ghana is low, both at local and the national level. However, over the years, some women have been striving to make a difference in the political landscape. This afternoon, we take a look at the Savelugu constituency in the northern region, where Hajia Fataya Abdulaziz is contesting as the NPP's parliamentary candidate. Let's speak to Christopher Mwako, who has had his eye on the constituency. He's joined us with a bit more on the dynamics we are seeing in Savelugu. Chris, good afternoon to you. This is not the first time that Savelugu is becoming an interesting destination for the election. Talk to us about happenings there this time.
Yes, so, Kabini, if you look at the Savelugu constituency, the first member of parliament, Madam Mary Boforo, was a female and also on the ticket of the NDC. She left office in January 2017, where the MPP took over. And the MPP MP did one term, and the NDC bounced back again with Honorable Idrisu Jacob. Now, in the 2024 elections, we see another female emerge. That is Hajia Fataya Abdulaziz. And she's been working in the constituency with some developmental infrastructure projects like the Savelugu Community Center, the NHIS office, and other offices that she has put up to seek the mandate of the people to represent them in Parliament. She has been saying that the former MP, the first MP, did a lot as a woman, and so she believes that she will also be able to do more if given the opportunity. Let's take a listen to what she's been saying.
Women can do and do better. We can do it better. So please, let's take this election seriously. 2024 elections is not a joke. Today, Moving forward, don't go to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We have the men. I guess Maza have your own got the class of but Wahala and fire pump. And now
Christopher, we'll leave it here for now. I'm sure there'll be more in later broadcasts. So thank you so much. Christopher Mwako was just on the Zoom connection where we talked about the Savelugu constituency.
Staying on the campaign trail because the NDC flag bearer John Mahama is back again touring the Greater Accra region. This time he's been, amongst many things, responding to the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who questioned him on where he stands in the Galamsey fight. Let's listen to John Mahama respond to the president, and then we connect with my colleague Komla Kluche.
We're going to drive the elephant straight back into the bush, so that the NDC can come back and continue the good work that it was doing. As Sam George said, President Akufo-Addo said I should come out clearly on Galamsey. It looks like he doesn't live in this country, because I've commented on Galamsey over and over again. The Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources gave political leaders the platform to outline their policy on small-scale mining. And for a whole hour, I outlined our policy. After that, there was questions and answers for 2 hours. We were there for 3 hours. So he should just tell his Flagstaff House media to get him the tape of what I said at the University of Energy and Natural Resources. Recently, when I met the clergymen, the Christian community, a part of my speech and the questions and answers was again on Galamsey and small-scale mining. And so, I mean, there's a lot that I've said. It is his responsibility. The people of Ghana elected him. He is currently the president of Ghana. And it is his responsibility to deal with Galamsey now.
Komla Kluche is joined us via Zoom. Komla, briefly, back in the Greater Accra region again, we see that he was in the Ningo Pram constituency. Where is he headed? What's the plan for the Greater Accra region, briefly?
He's in the Ningo Pram constituency, where he's doing the fourth leg of his campaign tour. It's been a crisscrossing, one can say. But just like you indicated a short while ago, the response to Galamsey wasn't the only thing. He also responded to the issue of the free SHS, where he said that because there's no dedicated funding to the free SHS, is the reason why there's a need for a review of it. And that review has been backed by the World Bank and other state and multilateral institutions as well. And so the propaganda that, you know, he's going to cancel the free SHS and all that will not work. But for him, he's focused. The ultimate responsibility lies with him as the head of state to fix the country. But, I mean, in as much as he has given up on it, he, John Mahama, if he secures the mandate of the people, he is reaffirming his resolve to reset the country. John Mahama would be in about some 4 constituencies today from the Ningo Pram constituency. Right. He will go to Bung, Katamanso. He will also be in the Tema Central and the Tema East constituency as well. These are the constituencies John Mahama is covering for the 4th leg of his Greater Accra campaign.
Komla, I appreciate those details. That's my colleague Komla Kluche following the John Mahama campaign team for us this afternoon here on your Election Command Center. It will take us on to our second break. We return with a bit more stories and take the show home.
I lived at Angloga and I had my basic education at Way, a town in the Volta region of Ghana. When I was at JHS, it wasn't easy for me when it comes to my financial aspect because my mom is a seamstress and as well as a trader, and my dad engages in farming activities. But God being so good, the government of Ghana brought up this free SHS policy. So I'm so happy that the government have brought up this policy that is making me also to have access to secondary education. One day I would like to become like the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahama. That is, I want to become an economist. He is my role model because I believe he has been one of the best economists ever in the world.
Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia, #1 on the ballot.
Stuck on you. Ooh, obsessed with you. I'm obsessed.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
I'm in Wakwaba, and my Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading, our electrical appliances. I hear Papa, Nebuofo, na engine and Mahmoudi to say television sets every 32, and you can see 86 inches. Franco Essence air conditioner every 1.5, 2.0, and 2.5 horsepower. Nasa Eboa, Uchilian Casa. Franco Essence the CCTV camera, also bomb mobile. Samsung Franco, a washing machine, Papa, and a bowl for chest freezer, tabletop fridges, and a double decker. Franco, dear, you can mobile phone, Papa. This is Nokia, Infinix, iPhone, any day laptops, no one can dear. Now be near free. Say yet to four, and now say I'm crown credit. Go to www.francotrading.com. And I say, friend numbers here a good screen is Franco Trading Enterprise. Still, electrical appliances, Papa. Nothing here anyhow.
He have not shown sign of settling down.
Oh, you don't mean it. Power to deliver Savelugu.
I might have a solution.
You take this and spray it twice. Shake the gentleman. Place it on your lips and say the magic word. Yes. You, my darling, are unlucky in love.
Auntie Esi. Now then I won't know what time over me one money my busa.
Auntie Ama, if I show me by any school, a university. Na scan year 2005. And yet they are many. Oh, to my even to my summit, they brought a paper big cra. No, the family.
Oh, yes, men's Fantoman Kotufi. It won't say John Dramani Mahama. Any NDC for say, saying, I may have done a gun for Twabamana. Waba, Aba University, Technical University, College of Education, Nursing Training, woman, academic fees for first year. And you're free. No, yes.
I don't know what it is. I'm not doing another matter than that.
Auntie, hey, share a BM was say, and can able Siana, not a bow or more to a school so. Say no bonny back one, says it was so best home. Ediama Oma or more to a solo. And your Mr. John Mahama, yet shamming soon cried say, yet we are no ma. Omo did the master be service bread yourself. Omo go school for one. What's the woman in our bar? And you're free. And
Samba, yay. And come in Konanka Nay 7 December. Nanga ya Tuabana, my papa Mahama. I'm an abaya president.
Shall was sit no more to Abapa. A dinsa cry papa beba wa brabum. To Abama John Mahama ni NDC.
Well, today on By the Numbers, we are narrowing our gaze on what the polling data is saying, because Global Info Analytics over the course of the year have released polls suggestive of a one-touch election victory for the NDC. Now, within the data released, though, is an interesting story that needs to be told on what the data really says. Moena is just here to do that. Moena. answer the question. What is the data saying?
So, big question really is that all throughout the year, that's one question that they've been seeking to answer. And when polls continue to come through, they make the argument that this election will not go into a runoff because they believe the work they are doing is good enough, and that it has suggested that the NDC is going to win. But within all of that data set from the 4 separate polls that has been put out by Global Info Analytics is an interesting story of declines and gains by the 2 major political parties, and even the others who are believed to be possible third forces in this year's election. And so I'll start with John Mahama, who the year started what the polling numbers suggested was hovering around 54%. At that point, a lot of people argued that, look, it was too early in the day to begin to give the NDC a 54% victory in the elections. We saw it go up to 57%. That raised some level of eyebrows as to whether or not we will see either of the NPP or the NDC win an election by 57%. But it's begun to drop consistently, 53 and then 51.1%. In the case of the NPP and Dr. Bawumia, he started in the lower margins, and that has been a conversation we've had all throughout the election coverages on the different shows about whether or not the 2 parties who traditionally secure more than 40% of the vote, we could see the NPP go 40% lower. And so from 33% after the last polling of October, Dr. Bawumia has risen from that percentage to 37.3. Another individual who's been in the running for who becomes president, and a lot of people have said will influence whether or not this goes into a runoff, is Alan Tremanti. And he has been on a steady decline as well since January, from 10% now hovering around 4.1%. And then Nana Kwame Bediako, who many of you know as Cheddar, has rather been on the upward trajectory, 3% from January up to 6.2%. What the story says, or what you can, or the argument you can make, is that the NDC has been on a decline since the year started. What could be the reason? That is one thing that we'll seek to answer. And then the NPP being on an upward trajectory, particularly Dr. Bawumia, on what seems to be an upward trajectory. An argument could be made that if this should go a little over 2 to 3 months more to the elections, then it could mean that him being on the up could cause an upset to the NDC. Let's just try and wrap up quickly in terms of what the suggested reasons are for what we're seeing. And we're seeing a lot more popularity for Nana Kwame Bediako, particularly amongst the youth. After his manifesto launch, we saw the reaction on social media, which suggested that a lot more people sought to suggest or sought to believe that it resonated with them quite well. He's seen a net gain of 3.2% since January. And Alan Tremanti, who we saw that decline, steep decline, has seen a net loss of 5.9%. In terms of the NDC's John Mahama, yes, it still suggests that he will win, but from the numbers which the predictions were at to now, there's been a net loss of 2.9%, with Dr. Bawumia, the last of all, being the individual who seems to be on the up quite strongly in the lead up to December 7. As to whether or not it translates into breaking the 8 is a different conversation altogether.
Indeed. Thank you so much for bringing us By the Numbers. That's it for today's edition of By the Numbers. That's also our show today, right?
Absolutely.
But before we go, let's do the QQ code.
Yeah. I don't know why you guys call it that. But let's scan quickly and be a part of the 3 News WhatsApp channel. That's where you find all things news related here from us at Media General. Let's scan quickly. That's the QR code. That's where you find all things news related, from links to 3news.com, and as well access to all of our news cards as they come through. Do well to be a part of that big growing family. That's our bulletin for you today. I am Awina.
And I am Kevin Yaman. As always, the afternoon show is next. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.